Hey there, Knicks fans. How you doing? It's your boy, Jonathan Macri, with you for an All-Star Week edition of the Knicks Film School Podcast. Andrew, it's Andrew Claudio, by the way, with me. Hi, Andrew.
Hi, John.
Can you tell I'm ready for a break? Before we say anything about what we're doing on this episode, Andrew has this thing. Jeremy is on vacation, by the way. That's why he's not here. Andrew has this thing. He's had this thing for some time, in which when we pre-record an episode that is going to air at a time other than a later time than we record it, we always need to do a song and dance around it. And even today, I cannot sit here and say with any great degree of confidence whether this is a bit from Andrew or whether he really genuinely does not want the public to know that we are pre-recording the thing that we are pre-recording. So for all I know, everything that I'm saying can get wiped if it's not a bit. And Andrew really does want to keep this stuff secret when we pre-record something.
I mean, I guess you'll have to tune in to find out if this made the pod, John.
Don't ask me when the last time I've listened to a pod that I was on.
I was about to say, that would be the first time you've listened to a pod, so it's fine.
Man, as my lovely wife walks in. So
hi, Loris.
Andrew says hi. So we are, I'm just going to say it. We're recording this episode on Thursday night, February 15th. Because the only thing that has happened between now and when you are listening to this is the All-Star game happened and All-Star weekend happened, and it doesn't fucking matter because it's fake basketball that players stop caring about. That's a good retrospective thing to do. When did players? There's no official year, but I'd like to track when people really stop caring about this. I know you always cite the 2002 game or 2003 game, the one where the East made the big comeback in the fourth quarter.
It's the 01 series. It's the 01 series.
Oh, is it 01? Okay, sorry, I was off by.
The reason it was is because Mutombo had 20 rebounds, and Larry Brown used it as evidence to be let's go trade for Mutombo to help us guard Shaq, and then Shaq averaged 33 and 20 for a final series.
But even then, and I ask you this because you have a photographic memory with this stuff, did the East not have to make a big comeback because the players weren't taking it totally seriously for the first half, three quarters?
So you're stepping on a Patreon pod that we're probably going to record,
yes.
pre-record at a point. But you want to talk about discrepancy in talent? Go look at the rosters of both of those teams.
Yeah,
and how deep the West, because that was the story I remember going into that game, was how stacked the Western Conference was, how they could go to a 5 centers or 5 big men lineup, and the East was just it's Allen Iverson, it's Vince Carter, it's Stephon Marbury, and a couple Knicks, and that's what made that game so cool was that these quote unquote scrubs, as if you want to call all-star scrubs, came back against Kobe and Garnett and Tim Duncan and Dirk Nowitzki and a bunch of greats.
I guess my larger point is that even in the early 2000s, my vague recollection, and again, I don't have anywhere near the remembrance for the stuff that you do. My vague recollection is that even back in the early 2000s, some the players would perhaps not always be taking this quite as seriously. But I could be wrong.
I'll be honest with you, it's really the last 3 years that I've noticed it's been this bad.
No, so here, you stole my larger point, which is that it was we always hear back in my day, players used to care about the All-Star game. I think that's talking about the 80s, maybe the early 90s, and then it started to go downhill, and then it was in this nice comfortable place for a long time where they cared just enough to make you want to watch. And then I think I go back more than the last 3 years. I think it's been to a level of egregiousness that I didn't think was possible. But even going back 5-6 years ago, I think it started to get really, really bad.
The first year of the Elam scoring.
That was different. That was good. That was
the first year. The Team Giannis team. Well, no, the first year of the Elam scoring. The first year Team LeBron, Team Giannis was 2018. And then the 2020 All-Star game had the Elam scoring because they made it to 24, whatever it was, solely because of Kobe. And that fourth quarter, I was like questioning like the NBA scoring system, being like, oh, this seems incredible. More fun. And you had that infamous picture of LeBron with the ball and Giannis guarding him, and it's like, as in all the celebrities on the sideline were all standing up on courtside, being like, oh, this is a moment. So that's 2020. It's 2 years ago, which is why I said it's really like the last 2 years that I noticed, oh, this is a pickup game. Like, that's scrimmage. They're just clearing, like 8 guys are going to go stand on the sideline while Tatum and Brown go one-on-one.
Well, to the point that Tatum set the All-Star game scoring record and absolutely no one cared. So what we're going to do is instead is something that has become a new little tradition here we do during All-Star weekend, which is to go back and look at some of what we thought would happen in the preseason. And to do that, we're going to refer back to everybody's favorite preseason niche Knicks podcast gimmick, Claudio Casino.
Bingo.
Claudio's Casino? No, Claudio Casino.
On the screen, Claudio Casino.
Claudio.
Indeed.
Claudio Casino has a nice ring to it.
Yes. It is not ordained by the Church of Pastor Claudio because it is a casino. So therefore, it is just my casino that we'll be going back to here.
At least alcoholic beverages are allowed in the casino. That's all.
Yes, in this one there is. Pretty sure all casinos there would be. I'm not so sure about churches, but I think we've had enough religious lessons here from the Knicks Film School podcast. Let's go back to before the season when we did our preseason preview. We'll go through John and Jeremy's different lines based on, different wagers or picks based on the lines that were set by one game manager, me, Andrew Claudio. So we start with a good one. How many points per game will Jalen Brunson average this season? So the line that was set was 23.5.
I was about to say, this is going to look very silly. Someone did not forget about Fred Katz's preseason articles. Someone did not read his text messages that we got regarding this. Why did you set it so low?
Well, another question could be asked, John. And it's, why did you take the under?
No, I didn't. Did I really?
You took the under.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, because you were like, you probably did a thing about how, I honestly haven't watched the show and gone back, but if I know John Macri, you went and used some historical precedents of how it would be possible for him to average 24 a game again, and that 23 is the number. And so you'll take the under. You probably said you'll take a slight under. Jeremy took the over, and Jalen Brunson right now is averaging 27.6 points per game.
No, my guess is I probably uttered some kind of nonsense about the fact that he was going to, now that he had proven that he could be a scorer on the biggest stage in the playoffs, the whole thing, that he was going to bide his, or save his energy during this regular season, bide his time, as it were, not force it, get everybody else involved, a lot of mouths to feed on this team, yada, yada, yada. And maybe average a few more assists, maybe something like 23 and 8, 23 and 9. It doesn't matter. I'm a bigger idiot than you, because again, you set the line. I made the bet. So there you go.
So hold on a second. What did Brunson average last year? Do you know off the top of your head?
I think it was 24.5 or
so I literally said, will he average? I think that was the reasoning behind my line. Will he average like a little bit less or smash last year's number? And oh boy, is he smashing last year's number.
He was, and you can't even use the Randall injury as like the thing because that didn't take place until much later. What I do want to at least, will you humor me?
Sure.
For a moment.
We got time. It's a podcast.
is that how this gambit works?
That works.
Oh my God. So pre-trade, pre-OG trade, how many points do you think Jalen Brunson was averaging?
Was it around 24?
No, it was 25.9.
Oh, wow. He's averaging like 26 a game.
Yeah, he was averaging 25.9 points at the time of the trade. And you could probably do it in your head. So since the trade, he is averaging, oh my God, he's averaging 30 points a game since the trade and 7 assists to boot.
That's 22 games, right?
I have it at 20 because he's missed a few.
Oh, that's right. He missed 2 games.
Okay.
The Memphis game and the Orlando game. So in 20 games, he's averaging 30 a game. That's insane.
Yeah. I actually, now that I'm talking about saying all this out loud, I think I would guess the other calculation for me was that the Knicks were not going to be quite as strong on offense as they were last season. They would be more defensively focused. And here they are, and they're scoring more than they were last season.
Still plenty of game left. Let's see if he can still hit the under, and you don't look as bad when we look at these at the end of the season.
Oh, he ain't hitting any unders. But let's move on. Let's see if I could redeem myself.
So the next line we'll look at refers to the Knicks' other All-Star, and it's Julius Randle. How many total points, rebounds, and assists per game will Julius Randle average this season? The line was 36.5. And right now, Julius Randle is averaging, if I can go back to the NBA stats page.
That's a good line. Again, he's averaging. You set these lines pretty good.
Exactly 24 points. He's averaging 9.2 rebounds per game, and then 5 assists exactly, which is 38.2.
So he's clearing this pretty handily.
He's got the over. You both took the over.
Okay, I was about to say I wasn't going to say it. Open my big mouth once. Now that you say those numbers out loud, that line was slightly low. I guess you were counting on fewer points, right?
I mean, we're talking like maybe he plays like it's 1 less point, 1 less rebound, like 1 less assist, like a lot of mouths to feed, if I remember from the beginning of the season. You know,
can we just for a second? Julius Randle's made 3 All-Star teams in 4 years.
Yes.
Do you know how fucking wild that is?
It's rarely happened to this franchise since I've been alive or following this team. It's 2 other players that have done that, and it's the 2 that we consider top 5 Knicks. Like, you know, quibble wherever you want to put Melo, but like that's the conversation. It's Carmelo Anthony, it's Patrick Ewing, it's Julius Randle.
That is, I still, even after he was named to this All-Star team and people out there, I think me among them, made an effort to be like, we need to appreciate what not only what he is as a player, but like how rare it is that you get a guy like this in the manner the Knicks got a guy like this. And then they went out and got another guy who's even better than this in the same manner 2 years later. It's even so, that's astounding that he did that, and that he's a very good player. So good job by him.
Very good job. Get well soon, Jew. And look, the reports coming out from me and Bagley lately are that we may be seeing him in the not too distant future.
Can we do a quick live line in Claudio Casino?
Sure.
It's an easy one. Who's coming back first, OG or Julius?
Julius Randle.
Whoa, he says with confidence.
Yeah. OG just got surgery, right?
Well, so here's the thing, and we were running long, and so I didn't dive as much into it, but like, so the OG timeline is very clear. 3 weeks, he'll resume on court activities because they seem pretty certain about what the recovery is going to be, and then I was talking to Fred about it. I was like, he was like, you know, it seemed to intimate that once he resumes on court activities, the return will be soon thereafter. So 3 weeks is a week from Thursday, right? So a week from Thursday is February. Is that still in February, or are we into March by that point? That's March. That's February 29th.
Yeah, it's the last day of February. Yeah.
Okay, great. That's 3 weeks. Give it another week. That's March 7th, right? So on-court activities, once he resumes on-court activities, does he need 1 week? Okay, fine. Let's see if he needs 2 weeks. That would seem to me, that would sound like a lot. And then Fred was like, I don't know why I didn't ask about this. He's like, yeah, I would count on OG before the end of March. And I'm thinking to myself, before the fucking end of March? March is a long month, 31 days in March. What are we talking about before the end of March? So I don't know. That threw me a little bit.
So 2 things. First of all, the reason that you didn't ask him is because you were in a playroom with 2 children and we're very trying to get off the pod as quickly as possible. Thank you for that. And something about Julius's injury happening first, and there's no surgery involved, and all the reports you're hearing about checkpoints and how impressed everybody is, and like the fact that we know Julius, he's gonna push back to get back sooner. Like from all accounts, he shouldn't have come back when he did this season, but to start the year, and that's what contributed to the bad start he got off to. But he was like, I'd rather play myself into shape and play through it, and it might have cost the Knicks. And, you know, I could see him coming back and struggling. I'm not saying that's not in play, but I could see him absolutely coming back because of all the things I just mentioned.
Would you, for him, the wager on him being out there in literally the first game after the break, the Sixers game, like 20 to 1 odds?
I'm not ruling it out. I'm not ruling it out, to be honest.
Like I'm saying, 20 to 1 odds, I'm making the bet. 10 to 1? I don't know about 10 to 1. Maybe like, I might need like 15 to 1, something like that.
Do you remember the playoffs when we were doing our previews all week about like, how many games, how are they going to survive game 1 and 2 without Julius? And then he's like there for game 1. And he's like, wait, what? Like they're going to play this Cavs series with Julius Randle?
He, much like his coach, is an insane person.
Yes.
In ways good and bad. Okay, let's move on.
So the next one I'm going to go to keep it current people on the team. How many starts will Josh Hart make this season? So you both...
What did you set the line at?
I'm looking at it now. Hold on. 15 and a half. This is funny. So 15 and a half is the number I set. You both took the under.
How many? I don't even know off the top of my head how many. Has he already surpassed 15?
I'm going to assume because people have been hurt. Josh Hart has started 15 exactly.
And the number was 15 and a half?
The number was 15 and a half. So he has to not start another game the rest of the year.
I mean,
if OG's back after the break, you got a chance.
OG's not going to be back after.
I know, John. You don't have a chance. This isn't going to hit.
Even if Randall was like pulled a Randall and was back for the first game after, I think he would start
at the 3.
I think he would start Josh Hart. You said so we both took the under?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, probably thinking RJ's Iron Man, you know.
There would be other options. Now, I think we were given privy very early on when RJ missed a couple games and with was it a virus or a headache? It migraines. That's what it was. Migraines.
Yeah, remember that?
Yes.
Remember the RJ migraines?
I remember
that was.
Not only that, John, remember how we were like, oh no, when will RJ come back? And it was like, that was the conversation around it because of how well he was playing.
The season was a journey.
He started and Quentin Grimes was like, why can't Grimes and Quickly play next to each other? You know, neither of them would end up in the starting lineup by the end of the season. So Josh Hart's going to hit this with one more start on the other side of the All-Star break. Congratulations to Josh Hart. Let's stick with some current team member lines still. How many teams will finish ahead of the Knicks in offensive rating this season? Off the top of your head, do you know? So the line I set was 9.5. So basically, will they have a top 10 offense? Do you know?
That's 9.5 is top 9 offense.
Well, if you take the under, they're 10.
Yeah, and that's
or you take the over, they're 10. Yeah. So, okay, you're in the top 11, in the top 9. You're right.
I'm guessing I complimented you on the line, and I probably took the under.
So you took the,
and we should say right now that they are 7th. In
you
offense.
Took the over.
I took the over. Good for me.
Yeah,
because I think they are gonna hit the over for this.
Jeremy took the under.
That's a bad job by him.
Well, we go to defense, by the way. How many teams?
Can I just read off? Because there's a bunch of teams right now. Sixers are in sixth at 118.6. Then there's a bit of a drop off to the Knicks and 117.9. And then you got Knicks 117.9. And then the Suns, Hawks, Warriors, and Mavs all between 117.8 and 117.5. And then there's a little drop off to the Pelicans at 12 to 117.2. Like a quarter of the league is right in this like 117 point something bandwidth.
Yeah, there's 7 teams averaging at least 100 in that stretch of at least 117 points per 100 possessions without getting to 118.
Like the Knicks are a good offense. Like that's what matters. The Knicks are good offense.
Very good offense. Yes. They're 7th, as you mentioned, which would be the under, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I took the. But wait a minute. Did I think they were going to get? They would be a better scoring team than your line. I'm so confused.
How many teams will finish ahead of the Knicks in offensive rating? You took the over that more than 9.5 teams will finish ahead of them.
So I did a bad job.
You did a bad job.
That's what I originally thought.
Jeremy took
did
the
a
under.
good job.
So Jeremy did a good job.
Good job.
The inverse is the defense. How many teams will finish ahead of the Knicks in defense this season?
I
also 9.5.
I definitely took the under here.
You took the under. Jeremy took the over. But they would be a little bit better on defense and a little bit worse on offense, like they were last year.
So interestingly, they're actually a worse defense than an offense right now. They're ranked 9th in defense at 113.1, and yet although Heat in 8th at 113.0, and then 2 teams, Rockets and Pels, at 112.7. So there's really 4 teams that are separated by less than half a point per 100 possessions from 6 to 9. And then you have a bit of a drop off to the Grizzlies in 10th at 113.6 and Denver in 11th at 113.7. I feel really good about that. They're going to finish the league or finish the year as a top. I mean, it depends on health, as does everything with this fucking team now. But I feel good about saying they're going to be a top 6, maybe top 7 at worst defense by the end of the year.
So 2 things. One, we have to remember they were 26th in defense on Christmas Day.
Yes.
So they've actually done some work to get up to 9th. We also have to remember that since the trade on since games started on January 1st with OG Anunoby post trade, they are 3rd in defense. So
who else passed them? Minnesota and Cleveland. Okay.
Yeah.
I knew Cleveland, but yeah.
There's a whole 1.2 points per 100 possessions ahead of Boston.
Okay.
So
gotcha.
The context of it all. Now, like you guys didn't predict that. That would have been a prediction for before the season. But that's where we are with the ratings. How about one more as far as in people still on the team? How many Knicks will shoot at least 37% from 3 this season with a minimum of 100 3-point attempts? I gave you 2 lines, 2.5 and 3.5.
Wait, why'd you give 2 lines?
Just so if you wanted to take, we would see how you did with both. You know, so both of you took the over of 2.5. You took the over for 3.5, and Jeremy took the under for 3.5.
So Jeremy thought there would be 3.
Would be 3. You said
and
more
I
than
thought there
3.
would be at least 4.
Yeah.
Okay. So
minimum 100 attempts. Yes.
And what was the percentage?
37%.
Okay. So DiVincenzo, barring his arms falling off, is going to hit this. Jalen Brunson, barring his arms falling off, is going to hit this. So that's 2. I'm going to move on. So how do we count? Do we count quickly?
It's 100 attempts. How many attempts from 3 did he have?
Quickly had 162 attempts from 3. He finished as a Knick this year shooting 39.5% from
that would
deep.
Be a hit, John.
So that's 3.
Mm-hmm.
So
now tell everybody who the 4th person is.
So you said 36%?
37%.
37%. So Quentin Grimes, unfortunately, is not going to get there because he's at 36.3%, and it's not going to get any higher, even though 212 attempts. So there's a couple of possibilities now. As of now, Deuce McBride has it because he's shooting 40% on over on 118 attempts. But this is for the whole season, this bet.
Hey, I'm saying right now you got it. Right now this would hit.
I don't necessarily feel great about it for Deuce. I feel really good about it for OG because OG as a Knick is at 39.1% on 64 attempts in 14 games. So figure he's going to get to 100 attempts probably with if he plays like 7 more games. And I feel pretty good about that number. So I'm going to hit this.
I think you're going to hit this too. I'm also not ruling out that Deuce shoots like 38% on like 3 attempts in the games he still plays.
He could. He's been a little cold for a while though. I think I looked it up recently. He's at like 30% for 7-8 games. Something like that.
He was shooting 55% for the longest time, which is why
I know
that was bound to come back to earth. I'll still take 40 attempts over 120 attempt. 40%. Or technically 41% over 120 attempt sample size. So right now you're on pace to hit this. Jeremy is on pace to miss on this. Okay. And I just realized I didn't put it on the screen. That's what it was. How many Knicks will shoot at least 37% from 3 this season?
You know what's funny?
What?
It's real quick. I think Deuce McBride, correct me if I'm wrong. I think Deuce McBride is the 3rd longest tenured Knick.
So
after Mitch and Julius. Is he not? I'm looking at the roster right now.
Since Grimes is gone?
Unless you want to count like Burks or Taj because they're like Knicks emeritus.
Clock restarts. You're right. Deuce McBride is the 3rd longest tenured Knick.
And again, Sims and him were in the same draft, but I feel like Deuce was probably signed before Sims. So yeah,
that's not how it counts. What counts is that one got drafted 36th and one got drafted 57th.
That's pretty wild.
This team's made a lot of moves this year, John.
But like Deuce McBride is the 3rd longest tenured Knick. Think about that.
Yes. John, how many people got traded from the Knicks this year from the time we did this podcast before the season?
I understand. A lot.
Yeah. Almost all the longest tenured Knicks got traded, which is why it's been the weirdest season I think I've ever watched or covered or whatever you want to call it.
It's been wild, wacky stuff.
So the next one we'll do how many... I have to look this up. So let's just do this one real quick. How many Knicks will make the All-Star team this season?
I definitely got this one wrong.
Both of you have to take the walk of shame at the moment because both of you on a line of 1.5 took the under.
I felt good about it too.
Both of you, I thought it was the right move.
I didn't feel good about like the fact that I was picking it. I just felt good that it would win, and obviously, not the case.
Not the case, indeed. Let's go to this one next. How many top 3 to 5 finishes? So I remember having to explain this back then. How many top 3 to 5 finishes in awards voting will the Knicks have this season? When I say 3 to 5, the only award that actually gets released that the top 5 is, or that people fill out ballots, is MVP. So at least top 5 in MVP or top 3 in everything else. And the line I set for this was 1.5. So how many Knicks, 1.5, will finish top 3 or 5 in award voting?
So if I recall correctly, I took the under and Jeremy took the over.
You took the under, Jeremy took the over, yes.
Okay, so let's just go through these. I mean, do we count the clutch bullshit thing?
Sure, it's an award. The clutch bullshit thing. Congrats to whoever wins. The Jerry West clutch bullshit thing.
The Jerry West clutch bullshit thing. I have no idea how to get a read on that right now. I mean, I actually don't think any Knick is in the running because they just haven't played a lot of close clutch games. I mean, Brunson's stats in the clutch are good, but they're not. The volume is not anywhere near there. So I don't think anyone's going to be there. They're not getting anyone in 6 Man of the Year. They are not getting anyone in. Well, No, I don't think they're gonna. I don't think it's quite there. I had a second thought about DiVincenzo for most improved, and I don't like. There will be someone that will put him on their ballot, maybe a few people that will put him on their ballot. I do not think that it will not be enough for it to be top 3. I'm going to skip Defensive Player of the Year for a second. The Rookie of the Year, obviously, no. And then Coach of the Year, I know Tibbs had gotten a little love there for a bit. He's not getting on it. So that leaves 2. That leaves Defensive Player of the Year and MVP, unless I've forgotten something. Those are the 2, right?
So I can't believe I'm going to find myself on this side when the last time people saw you and I on screen together, I became the minutes guy. But I think there's a case for. I think he'll get
3?
votes. So can I finish my sentence? I'm saying that I think if they get back up to go on a run again, there's a chance he gets top 3 love because that's how he was discussed. And if they're like, yo, you know what? They lost 6 players and all these injuries. They ended up with a 2 seed. Like, I'm looking for narratives when we talk about awards. There's really only one award that you go to for statistics now, and it's the clutch bullshit award. I think a narrative could be formed that Tibbs has done a top 3 coaching job this year. I think Daigneault, Mazzulla, and Bickerstaff would be my top 3 at the moment, with Chris Finch probably getting honorable mention. But I could see a narrative being formed. I would agree with you. I think the fact that they're probably going to finish like 3rd is like why he's going to finish like in the top 6 or 7.
I think this is going to develop into 2 tiers.
Okay.
And I think Daigneault, barring a complete implosion from the Thunder, is in the first tier. And I would also probably say
I wouldn't sleep on Bickerstaff.
Bickerstaff, yeah.
I would think he wins at the moment. I don't know what the betting odds are saying, but
put Bickerstaff in that tier again, barring a large drop off. I think that's the top tier, and I think you're going to get one more coach of an up and coming ish team. Like Mosley was the early front runner. If Orlando gets to 6th, like he'll put himself in that tier. I'm trying to think if anybody else out west could put, like Chris Finch could. I mean, if the Wolves finish 1st in the West, like he'll put himself in that tier. My point is, because I feel really confident about those first 2 guys in that tier. I also feel confident there's going to be a 3rd guy to put himself in that tier. Could Tibbs be the 3rd guy to put himself in that tier? Maybe. They'd have to finish 2nd in the East. And
they'd have to. Yeah.
Boy, that would be wonderful. But so I'm gonna say no on that one. Defensive Player of the Year, OG was there until the injury. He was absolutely going to be in the top 3.
He was literally like, we had people driving to Jersey or Connecticut to go place odds, like place at those tweets. He had dropped from plus 3,000 to plus 900. That's how good his odds have become.
And it's funny because it was right about the same time last year that the Quickly 6-man thing became a thing, and it was in the same way, and it was headed that direction. And unfortunately, let's see how many games he misses, I guess. Although he's probably going to miss is there a cutoff for this? I think this is one of the awards.
65 games. Yeah. That's why I think he'll miss, if anything.
He's gonna miss it. He might have already missed it. I don't know how many games he missed for Thrive. Whatever. We could stop talking about this. He's not gonna get it. And then that leaves MVP.
He's missed 14 games, by the way.
Okay. He's not gonna qualify. So that leaves Brunson.
You're both gonna hit this then, because it's both are gonna be unders.
I thought Jeremy said the over.
Did Jeremy say the over?
Yeah, he did, because he made some fakakta. I remember this. He made some.
That's right. Yeah, he took the over. So you're gonna hit this.
Yeah. And I love Brunson more than anyone. I mean, 5th, man. I know he was 7th on the recent MVP ladder for whatever site put that out. It would not absolutely shock me if he finished 5th.
So Giannis, SGA, Jokic, Luka,
Kawhi,
and then the next for the 5th spot, his competition is Kawhi, Mitchell, a Celtics, a Tatum, and then Brunson. Yeah,
he's in tier 2.
I mean, those would be my 8 at the moment.
But again, if you're in the top 8 with this many games to go, and he's played a lot of games in comparison to some of these other guys, wouldn't shock me. Wouldn't shock me. Would be the first guy to finish top 5 in MVP since your boy,
that guy
who did it once here as a Knick, and then before that, you have to go back to Patrick. Yeah. So yeah, not many have done it.
Not many at all.
Okay, what's next?
I had time to look this up. How many times will a Knick score 40 points in a game this season? Do you know off the top of your head how many times a Knick has scored 40 points in a game this season?
Didn't Brunson just do it?
He did it against Indiana in the game you cried.
Thank you for that. Off the top of my head, how many times has a Knick scored 40 this season? 4. I don't know.
6. Julius Randle did it once in the in-season tournament game.
Oh,
and Jalen Brunson has done it 5 times.
Brunson has scored 45 times.
50 points against the Phoenix Suns on a Friday night Knicks. Speaking of in-season tournament, 45 in the game we did our watch party for, and that Julius Randle went 6 of 22, and we all wanted him shipped to a different country. 42 against the Detroit Pistons in November. Then he had 41 against the Washington Wizards in a game that Jordan Poole made us all laugh very hard. Yeah. And then the game again that you cried.
I would have bet and not insignificant sum of money if I had the ability to do so that he was going to get 40 against the Magic, and
get half of it in the first quarter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, but even like the first couple of minutes in that game. No, first couple of minutes of that game when I saw how he came out, I'm like, oh, he's getting 40 easy.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of didn't go their way.
Then they ran out of basketball players is what happened.
So what was the over under on this?
7.5. So 2 more times and this happens. You took the under, so you can only afford 1 more time this year for that to hit. And then Jeremy took the over. So 2 more Knicks score 40 points in a game, and he's got it. So what you guys have to sweat out is whether it be Brunson by himself getting 40 points in a game, what you probably have to sweat out if you're trying to hit the over or even the under is the LA Fitness Week when like the random Charlie Brown Jr. 40-point game,
Randall can certainly do it again. I think Brunson is going to break this pretty handily.
I do too. I'm actually curious to look up what the record is for 40-point games in a season for a Knick.
So I went and did some digging only because New York Basketball Twitter account put out a tweet after Brunson scored 35 in a game recently, saying that he's only the second Knick in the last 30 some odd years or less 30, whatever it is, to score 35 or more at least 11 times in a game. And I went back and went through Ewing's entire career. Ewing only scored more than 35, more than 11 times once in his career. It was the year that Ewing, the only year Ewing ever made first team All NBA, which I think was either, it was 89-90. And he averaged 28.6 points a game. So, I mean, Melo, if I had to guess, do you have Melo, the most times Melo's done in a season up in front of you?
Not in a season. What StatMuse gave me was the Knicks that just flat out have the most 40-point games. And Brunson, surprisingly, 5 of his 9 40-point games are this season. So he's only done it 9 times. Yeah, I know. I mean, Randall's at 10.
I would guess Melo's about 20. Is the first part right?
No, 17.
Never didn't even get to 20.
No. So here's a fun game. Can you name the other 3? Brunson and Randall are 5 and 6. Can you name
with 9 and 10 respectively?
With 10, 10 for Randall, 9 for Brunson. Melo already said is at 17. There's 1 between them. Melo's 3rd. Then the other 2 are kind of easy, but I'd be curious if you get who's 1, 2, and 4 in 40-point games during the regular season.
My only question is Ewing? So Richie Guerin's definitely on the list.
He is number 4 with 14.
I actually would have thought that it was more. Richie Guerin had a season where he averaged 29 points a game. So
40 is a lot of points, though. Now that I'm seeing what this list looks like,
kids, go look up the season where Richie Guerin averaged 29 points a game. Here's spoiler alert. It's not going to look that impressive when you see the guy who was first in the league that year, or second or third. Actually, the guy who was second that year spent some years as a Knick. That's all I'm going to say about that. So number 2 is going to be Pat.
No.
Kings 2?
So Bernard King, as a New York Knick, had 23 40-point games.
Pat has more than 23. What does Pat have, like 27?
He has 30.
He's 30. Holy shit. So, sorry, King had 20. How many?
23.
Again, good thing I'm not a betting man. I would have bet that Bernard had more than Patrick.
I honestly thought he would too, but I think the sheer length of career you have to factor in.
Well, yes, but like I don't. Again, I don't have it in front of me, but I would wager. Again, I've already proven that I should not wager on anything with real money, but I would wager that like following maybe like 93, 94, like Patrick had like over the last basically 5-6 years of his Knick career. I mean, what did he have? 2, maybe 3 40-point games in that stretch. Probably, it could not have been that many.
Got drafted 83, 84, 84, 85, 84, 85.
Yeah, he banked a lot, I think, on the earlier side, like in the late 80s, early 90s. Which
trade
again
happened in 2000. Hold on, we're gonna look this up. Keep bantering, keep stalling.
I mean, look, so Patrick. The thing about Patrick is Patrick only had the one great scoring season when he averaged 28.9 points a game. Other than that, I'm going to actually say that he never averaged over 25 a game in any other year. No, sorry. He averaged so he averaged 28.6. I was right about the number. In 89-90. The next year, he averaged 26.6. Played 81 games, averaged 26.6 points, 11.2 rebounds, 3 assists. At the time was career high, but because the Knicks stunk, they were a below 500 team that year. Only finished 11th in MVP voting. And then the rest of his career, like all the other numbers, like 24, 24.2, 24.5, 23.9. I'm like, he was right around that time. Now, granted, the league was going down in terms of scoring. So he's averaging all these, 24 points a game, which now that places you. Where does 24 points a game place you in the league in scoring right now? 16th, 17th, 18th, something like that? I don't even know. Back then, it put you 5th or 6th. So it's to say it's a different league is an understatement.
In the 90-91 season, Patrick Ewing scored 40 points in a game 11 times.
There you go. Wait, in the 90-91 season?
I believe so. It might have been 80-89.
Or are you sure it's not 89-90? So 89-90 is the year he averaged 28.6. That's the year he scored 35 or more that year. I believe 22 times, 21 or 22 times. So I think that's probably the year you're looking for with all the 40 pieces.
So 89-90. We're just gonna do this like Mike and the Mad Dog. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 times. 89-90. You're right.
There you go. So that's a third of the total right there for a guy that played 15 years as a Knick.
Yes.
And he got over a third of his 40-point games in one season. That's interesting. That's kind of funky. I wonder what it was about that year that why he scored so much.
It's not the record. Okay, so 84-85, Bernard King did it 13 times.
That's why I assumed King had it, because he was the best scorer in the league for 2 straight years.
Yep.
Until he blew out his ACL.
Yeah, I'm staring at it right now. He in 85.
No,
84-85, 13 times for Bernard King.
Bernard King is the greatest scorer in Knick history.
Yes.
Of that, there is no dispute. I don't give a fuck how many career points he finished with. Bernard King's the greatest scorer in Knick history. Ewing is the greatest player, arguably, in Knick history. Bernard King's the greatest scorer in Knick history. And Richie Guerin's pretty
fun.
good too.
Yeah.
That was fun. Man, so sorry, one more. So Brunson has 5 this season?
Brunson has 5 this season.
Man.
So he has a chance, obviously, to pass Randall, and then Richie Guerin and Melo are next.
I'm thinking again, most in a season. You know what I want now? We're done with this, but at some point, I want to look up what's the most 40-point games Melo has had in a year, because I wonder if Brunson can pass whatever number that is. If it's 7, 8, 9, something like that.
This should be very easy to do, John.
Brunson's not getting 11.
No,
I mean, Jesus, who knows? Maybe he does. I don't think he's getting 11 or 13, obviously. But I could. Would it shock you if he got a couple of more here?
Not at all. I think he's gonna be the reason you guys don't. Whoever took the under misses.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's gonna be the guy.
He's gonna get. I'd say if you want to set a new Claudio Casino line at 2.5, you taking the over?
2.5. Yeah, I'll take the over.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Carmelo Anthony, during his tenure with the Knicks, again, 17 times he scored 40 points. He
really would have thought it would have been more than that. I'm like not shocked. I am surprised though that it was not more than that.
In the strike shortened 11-12 season, he did it twice. Once that game against the Bulls, and then once in a loss against the Heat. That's not the playoffs. Then the 12-13 season, it's
8 times. I have it right here.
Okay. I guess Pat Sajak just got replaced. Apparently, the show is not big. Okay.
So I think Brunson could pass that.
Can he get to 8? Can Brunson get to 8 is what you're saying?
Yeah, I think Brunson can get to 8, which would tie Melo. I'm just looking up just for good measure. Brunson or Melo in the 13-14 season did it 5 times.
6. I got 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Look, he
did it.
It's 5.
2013. He did it on November.
You're looking at a date that's like off or something. It's 5 times. I'm going season by season in Basketball Reference. Trust me, I got this.
Oh no, you're right, because the one I'm looking at was in technically the 14-15 season. You're right.
Yeah. So the number is 8. That's the number. If Brunson passes 8, that means he will have the 3rd most 40-point games in a single season in Knicks history, unless during that crazy season for Guerin, just in case there's anybody listening to this that's still awake, we should go. I have it right here. I'll just say it. In the 61-62 season for Richie Guerin, he surpassed 47 times, and he got 39 2 other times. So he was like right there on the cusp. But so Brunson could become have the 3rd most ever if he could get another 4. I wouldn't put it past him.
Fun fact: Carmelo Anthony on November 14th in back-to-back years had 45 and 46 points.
There you go. Fun stat. All right, let's. We got any more bets or no?
We have a lot more. We just went down a very long rabbit trail.
Let's finish these up.
Let's do this. So first, let's go back in time to a roster of old. Emmanuel Quickley. How many total points, rebounds, and assists will Emmanuel Quickley average per game this season?
What'd you say?
The line we
like
said
26,
23 and a half.
I'm assuming I took the over.
You both took the over.
Okay. And then he ended this season.
You look it up. You look it up. I'm balancing multiple plates here. Although I have it now. Emmanuel Quickley averaged this season 15 points, 2.6 rebounds, 2.5 assists. So he hit the under.
Under. Oh, yeah. So it's a good line.
Very good line.
Okay, so we're both wrong on that. I'm batting maybe enough to get me in the Hall of Fame as a baseball player. That's not really what you want though for this. Next,
there's a second line, John, of per 36. If you'd like to go to that, How many points, rebounds, and assists will Emmanuel quickly average per 36?
And what was that?
The line was 27.5.
27.5. Okay, so that did I get the over? Did I hit the over on that?
No, and you both took the over.
Yeah, we would have gotten that on that because it's 22.5 points, 3.7 assists, 3.8 rebounds. So that's an easy over.
Oh, it is the over. You're right. It's the over.
So that's okay. Good job by us there.
Good job by you guys. Okay, so you both would have hit the over on per 36, but in the minutes that Tibbs played him, he hit the under. So,
you know what I haven't checked?
What?
I've not checked how Emmanuel quickly is doing as a Raptor. I know, like, kind of like how he's doing. Is it not great?
There's some bad shooting games for him. I mean, his assist numbers are insane at the moment.
He's shooting 40% from three. That's good.
Yeah, he's taking a ton of threes. Now he's also taking, like, it's 40% from the field too.
Yeah,
but
no,
the assist number is the most impressive part. That's like 6 a game. That's the thing. Every time I check the quickly box scores, you know,
his second year in the league, he averaged 5.5 assists per 36. Right now, he's at 6.5 assists per 36.
Mm-hmm.
That's
right, but now he's playing 32 minutes a game, and with that extra 8-minute workload, you're seeing, you know, he's having to adjust a bit. Which the fact that he could sustain 5.8 assists, this is where, like, they were for a while playing these 2-guard lineups, which we saw him thrive in 2-guard lineups when he was playing with Schroeder, and now he doesn't have like another point guard to play off of. You know, it's Bruce Brown, RJ. I mean, I'll let you do with that.
I mean, it's 20 point. I mean, Jesus Christ, that effective field goal percentage. My Lord. Shoot, RJ shoots 61% on twos.
Shout out transition, baby.
My Lord.
Yeah.
Oh, God. That's wild.
Let's just do this now then. How many total points, rebounds, and assists per game will RJ Barrett average this season?
For the Knicks.
So let's start here. Yeah. The line that was set was 27.5, which is the same as Quickly's per 36. This is just regular stats for RJ. RJ Barrett finished with the Knicks, averaging 18.2 assists.
It's under.
18.2 points, 4.3 rebounds, 2.4 assists. Mm-hmm. So the under would have hit. You both took the under. So you both hit that. There we go. Okay. Then we go to his Toronto numbers. He's averaging 20.5 points per game, 6.9 rebounds per game, and 3.5 assists. All three would be career highs.
Yeah.
For RJ Barrett. And it would also hit the over.
He's only taking 4 threes per 36 minutes in Toronto. It's interesting.
They are putting him in a position to succeed. They're not doing a ton of winning, but he's absolutely playing outstanding since going to Toronto.
He is playing as a peak role player, I think, in Toronto. Yeah. Like
he's played outstanding.
An elite role player in Toronto.
It reminds me a lot of Bridges last year.
Yeah. Oh, well,
when he got traded. I know
Bridges what you're going to creating offense.
And John, they went 11 and 18. That's what my point is, that like RJ's also like creating offense. He's shooting 60% effective field goal percentage. The free throw number is back.
I'm still going to need a little bit more than 3.8 assists.
Guess what? He's not on your team. You're not going to need anything.
I don't need anything. That's for sure.
You're not going to need anything from RJ Barrett.
Look, RJ's playing up to his contract in Toronto.
Yes, absolutely. It's looked like the RJ trade since it happened. I'll say that much. Okay, 3 more. How many teams will finish ahead of the Knicks in the East this season? As it currently stands, the Knicks are the 4 seed. The line that we set was 5.5.
Yeah,
both of you took the under.
Meaning we thought they would finish
top 6. Higher. They would finish 5th or higher.
Yeah, so that looks good.
That looks very good. You're right.
Great.
The next 2. How many games will the Knicks win this season? 45.5 was the number. They already have 33.
If they don't hit this over,
they need to go 13 and 14 the rest of the season to hit the over.
Did we both take the over?
Both took the over.
There we go. Okay.
And then my favorite one, which made you guys go nuts because it was the most difficult question. How many playoff games will the Knicks win this season? The line was 4.5.
What do we take?
Both took the over.
We did. We were feeling We're feeling positive that day.
Would you take the over as of right now? Would you take the over again on the last two? Would you take the over? In fact, the last three, would you take the over?
The wins is an easy over. The seeding, I think, is a pretty easy over because the 5th seed or higher.
Yeah,
I think they'll get the 5th seed or higher. I would actually be really surprised if they didn't finish 4th at least.
Well, no, it'd be the 6th seed or higher. Because if it's under 5.5, then 5 teams can finish ahead of them.
I think they're going to finish 4th or higher. At worst, I think they'll finish 5th. I'd be really surprised if they finish 5th. The playoff games thing, I mean, it should be an over. I would take the over, but like, and this will be probably a good place to end, the show here. Like, I am looking at a Eastern Conference where I see one team that I feel really good about making it to the second round of the playoffs. Really good about making it to the second round of the playoffs. And that's Boston. I always get my odds backwards. So if a team is supposed to do something, it's plus, right?
Yes.
Okay.
If you're saying more than, let's go back to our dearly departed prize picks. More than 4.5 wins.
Great. So if you put plus 200 on any other team, which, correct me if I'm wrong, means I have to bet $100 to win 50, right?
No, that would be minus 200. Plus one, if you bet $100 on 200, you'd win an additional $200.
Okay.
Literally plus
whatever the situation is, if I'm only getting like 50% on my winnings, like if I bet 100, I win 50. If I bet 200, I win 100.
So,
and if that's
minus 200, so you bet 100, win 50.
Wonderful. If that's the bet for any other team in the East, Cleveland, Milwaukee, New York, Philly, Indiana, all the way on down, I am not taking it. I'm not taking it. I would need at least, maybe not that I would need at least even odds. Like, man, is Milwaukee really going to lose in the first round? Probably not. But would it shock me? It wouldn't shock me. And it's like so much is going to depend on the seeding. And so much is going to depend on whether the fucking MVP is back for the playoffs. How about that one? The would-be 2-time MVP, except he's not because he got hurt. Like, and then when you throw in variables like Miami, is Miami going to Miami again? I will say it again. I'm petrified of playing a playoff series against the Pacers. And I don't say that just as the Knicks. I would be petrified of playing the Pacers if I was any team because of how they play basketball and of how completely and totally unbothered they are when a team just runs up 40 on them in a quarter. Because you know what? They're going to be like, it's fine. We'll get 50 the next quarter. Like, this is the East this year. So, again, long story short, I would take the over on the playoff wins. I think they'll win more than 4 playoff games. But like every team other than Boston, if you told me that they were going to get eliminated in the first round, I'd be like, okay. I guess something didn't go their way.
The line is 4.5.
Yes, I would take the over. That's all.
So they would win one game in the second round.
Yes, I think if they make it to the second round, they'll win a game.
Okay.
At least.
I would hammer the over. I'm not as afraid of some of the teams that you're talking about.
And I'll even go a step further. I think if they make it to the second round, that'll be either a 7-game series or an extraordinarily competitive 6-game series.
I think we could take care of Milwaukee or Cleveland in 6. I don't think we need to go 7. But I appreciate the sentiment that you think they could force us to 7.
Look, I'll end with this. I think didn't I say this on the pod? The thing about like when they had won a certain amount of games at the 50-game mark or a certain percentage of games at the 50-game mark every year in their history, or 13 or 14 times other than the year they did a round robin
during the round robin year. Yeah,
they made it at least to the second round. Like, I think that has some merit. The team is good. They got off to a horrible. They got off to a 2-4 start, and they're 1-5 in their last 6. So that's the first 6 and that's the last 6. And based on everything they did in between, when they were right and healthy and they had Julius Randle not playing like he had money on the other team, they were the third or fourth best team in basketball. Right?
That'd be the funniest thing you've ever said on this podcast. That was really good.
No, but seriously, for 43 games, 43, the 43 games in between those first 6 and last 6, that's more than half a season, 43 games. They were unequivocally a top 5 team in basketball. So should they make it to the second round? Yes, they should make it to the second round.
Yeah, 29-15 in those games.
Yeah, no, they were by any metric you want to use: offensive rating, defensive rating, net rating, all the other little stats that go a little deeper. Like they look the part. They check all the boxes. They just, as if they're healthy, they should be fine. But again, it's a tough East. It's gonna be a fun playoffs, man. But before we even get there, it's gonna be a fun stretch run here. I think we're in for some jockeying. I'll be very curious how that looks down the stretch.
It's 43 games, you said?
Yeah, because 55 minus 12.
I know. Yeah. I'm 43 games. In those games, there was not 29-13 or whatever number I said. They were 30-13 in that stretch.
Okay.
And with an offensive rating of 120, a defensive rating of 112.9, which is a 7.2 net rating, which would be the second best or close to the second best in the NBA. I forget if that's ahead of... It would be tied for the third best in the NBA, 30-13.
Yeah, and if you really want to get nuts, you extrapolate their winning percentage out over those 43 games over a whole season. It's a 57-win team.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty good. They're going to be fine. It's just I think we could be looking at a special year in the East. That's all. We'll see what happens.
Yep.
This was fun. Thank you for doing this.
You're welcome.
And thank you, everybody out there. Hope you're enjoying your All-Star break so far. We will have more content coming your way this week. I have we have an episode I'm very excited to share with you that's coming up in the next several days, featuring myself and very good friend of mine, friend of the pod, friend of the newsletter, friend of anybody who has ever had anything to do with Knicks Film School, Ray Marcano. That's coming up soon. And then we will have pre and post games for the games that they play when they are back playing games.
Yes.
So there you go.
On Thursday, we'll have a pregame pod for the Sixer game, and Benji will be on the post game. We will also have a pregame pod. We also have a watch along for the game as well. We will also have a pregame pod for the Celtic game on Saturday, and then me and XJ are on the post game.
And then you and XJ on the post game. Very nice.
Yes, that is what I said.
Very cool. All right. Looking forward to all that. And everybody enjoy your rest of your little break from basketball. And we'll talk to you soon. Peace out.